Okay. What I'm going to be doing today is a how-to video on how to make wine. All you really need is some juice. It has to be 100% juice, no additives or anything, or preservatives, because that will kill the yeast off. And all you need is juice, yeast, funnel, and some sugar. And if you want to use a balloon, you can as an airlock. But you can also just have the cap on very loosely, so the carbon dioxide that it creates will escape and no air can get in. Yeah, you just leave the cap on loosely, if you don't have a balloon or anything. And in worst case scenario, if you can't find a balloon and you don't want to do this, you can use a condom. I've done it before. It is kind of gross, but if it's an unused condom, then it still looks weird, but whatever. Alright, so I drank a little bit of the juice because when you add the yeast, it'll bubble up a little bit, so I gave it more than enough room to bubble up and everything. Because if you don't do that, if you just leave it as full as it is, you're going to add sugar and it'll overflow, and when it foams up, it'll come out. You'll have a big messy mess. So yeah, let's get started. You don't really have to add sugar if you don't want to, because there's already sugar in here. This one, it's actually no sugar added, but I don't usually add that much sugar in it, but just use the funnel. I have a mess. I'm going to add about maybe five or six tablespoons of sugar here. And the more sugar that you add into it, the stronger it'll be. You might have to wait a little bit longer for it to ferment. Usually it'll take about, I usually wait 2 weeks. It should be done fermenting within 7 days, but if you want to leave it longer, then that's just great. I think that's like 7 or 8. So yeah, that should be enough sugar. And you close the cap, give it a good shake up. Make sure all the sugar is dissolved, because if it's not, it'll rest at the bottom, and it'll be kind of gross. And you don't want to add too much sugar, because there have been cases where somebody has added too much sugar into it, and then they add the yeast, and it's actually too much sugar for the yeast to multiply, and so it actually kills off the yeast. What the yeast does with the sugar is it'll pretty much eat the sugar, and while it's doing that, it'll create alcohol. It converts the sugar into alcohol, and it'll create a gas, carbon dioxide, and you want that to escape, but you don't want anything to get in, because if any germs get in here, it can turn into vinegar instead of wine, or it'll make you really sick, and you don't want that to happen. So I already have opened this yeast because I made a previous batch a couple days ago. Now usually I don't use this kind of juice, store-bought juice. I actually make my own with the blender and squeeze out all the clumps using a a filter sheet or whatever. And it's better homemade, definitely. Alright, so you don't really have to add the whole packet of yeast, and I use the Rapid Rise bread yeast because it's cheapest, 94 cents at the store for a 3-pack of this. And you don't really have to use the whole pack. Right now I'm going to use the remainder of this pack in here. Now usually some people, they will actually get a little bowl of warm water, and they'll get like a little less than a teaspoon of sugar. They'll put it in, mix it up, and then they'll add the yeast to the sugar and let it wait for about 8 to 10 minutes, and that'll activate the yeast. Now I don't usually do that because it takes too much time, and but yeah, just to make sure the yeast is working, people do that. Then you just give it another good shake. Make sure the yeast is all broken up. And there you have it. Now, after you shake it up, you don't want to forget to loosen the cap or put the balloon on it. And when you put the balloon on it, you got to poke a couple holes at the top of it. But yeah, you don't want to forget that, because if you do, you will have an explosion pretty soon. Now, it usually should take about maybe an hour to, an hour or two, however long it takes the yeast to activate with the sugar. And after you see it foaming up, then you know it's working. And after that, you don't want to take the cap off for anything. Just let it sit for a minimum of 7 days, and you could leave it as long as you want from there. It depends on how much you want it to be strong. Anyway, I hope this helped. Pretty easy, simple way to make wine. The only thing you really got to pay for is, well, if you have your own fruits at home, you don't really have to buy the juice. But all you got to do is spend, 90-something cents for yeast, and if you already have sugar at home, then you're good. Hope this helped some of you out there, and enjoy. Leave a comment or whatever. I forgot to tell you, when I'm gonna actually get back with you when this is done fermenting and everything. After it's done, I'll have a little taste test with it, and I'll document that for your knowledge, just to let you know how mine came out. Post a video response, or yeah, things like that, comments telling me how it went with your wine. Anyway, I guess I'll leave you on that note. Have a nice day.